Power posing. Let's podcast.
Set your stuff to do not disturb.
Oh, that's a really good call.
How do I do that?
Where
is it gone?
Yeah. Preferences?
Okay. Do not disturb. On.
No disturbances here.
None.
Not even one.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. No, I'm not going to start with thanks for watching.
Reset.
Scene.
Character. I even shaved for this, so.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I know.
I put makeup on for like the first time in weeks. Oh, it's frozen.
It froze. And your face is really funny frozen right now. Podcast ready over here.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the most recent episode of the Predictable Revenue Podcast. I am Sarah Jane Hicks. I am a senior SDR here at Predictable Revenue.
And I'm Sebastian Arciniega. I'm the inbound SDR here at Predictable Revenue as well.
Awesome. And today we're going to be chatting to you guys about how SDRs and BDRs adjust to working from home, how we adjust our prospecting or our outreach approach, and share some tips and tricks on how to stay sane in this very wild time.
And as you may have noticed, if you regularly follow the podcast, we are not in the nice brick office where you normally see Colin or Sarah even doing the podcast there. You can see a little bit more that we're just doing this self-distancing, and you can see some vintage movie posters that belong to my roommate. But, I guess that's life now.
My wall is so boring compared to your wall.
That's okay. I mean, do you want to get a poster real quick and move it there? Wait. Oh, no. So hope everyone here is adjusting to the new normal here. Of course, there's a lot of different things that have come in here. And I know Sarah's got some funny stories about sort of some of the changes that have come along with this.
Very true. So one of the biggest challenges that I have had personally in adjusting to working from home is that when I'm in our lovely Predictable Revenue office, I usually have quite an elaborate desk setup. I've got my laptop up on the little stand to the right. I've got my big screen monitor in front of me, and I'm able to kind of blow things up large so that I can look at small details and kind of switch between screens and have 1,000 tabs open and that not be an issue. But now I'm just working on my one little laptop screen, still with 1,000 tabs open. So now it's super messy. And I made a grave error the other day when trying to import a list into Outreach. So I was trying to format said list of contacts, and I was trying to remove a couple of cells from a few columns, but not all columns. But in doing so, I offset the name of the prospect, the company, all of that information from the email address. So everything was for one person, but the email address was off by one. And so very proudly, I went and set up this lovely sequence. I thought the messaging was really good. I imported this batch of contacts, sent out those initials, and got no responses except one. So I had written to somebody calling them Andy Smith, let's say, and this person had responded, we'll call her Sandra, and she had said, who's Andy Smith? And then I looked at the email address, and it was like Sandra at a completely different company than what I had reached out to. And I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? So I quickly paused the sequence, went back to the sheet, fixed it, re-imported all those contacts, start over. So I rejigged the messaging, referenced the mistake I'd made. I was like, here we go, all sorted, no worries, no harm, no foul, sent it out again, hadn't actually properly changed those contacts within Outreach. So I sent yet another email to my good friend Sandra, calling her Andy Smith. And she responded yet again being like, did you just email me twice in one day, calling me Andy? We do marketing consulting. Do you need help with your outreach? And I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say to you right now, Sandra. It's a hard time. And then I just paused that sequence and I just forgot about it.
Just forget about it. Yeah, that makes me kind of a little anxious just hearing about it. But yeah, that's one of many. One of the ones, with people dealing with cramped spaces and with everything being a little bit different. One of the funny ones that we've been watching and seen a couple examples of in the office has been the problem with mics in like not turning off a microphone or a video during a conference call if you have to do something private. So one of the funny ones here that's a little unfortunate here is when we see the videos of someone in a big Zoom chat with everything in gallery view, and they take the conversation they're speaking and they go into the washroom with the computer, not realizing the video is still going, and are sitting down to use the washroom, and you see everybody else on the chat just looking absolutely horrified. I mean, we laugh at these videos and they're funny, but a big thing is just making sure those don't happen to you. Although I don't really think you should be. I don't think you should be going to the bathroom during a Zoom call, even if you're just on the phone, right? I mean, I feel like you could,
turn the video off. Turn the mic off. Do what you got to do.
Maybe if it's like a 3-hour call, I could see it. But I mean, if it's like a 45-minute sync up, then you should be okay. You can hold 45 minutes.
If you're prone to making that kind of mistake, do not risk it. Now is not the time to risk it.
Exactly. Just never turn on the video, I think, in that case.
Yeah.
But anyway, everybody make sure your cameras are off if you need to do something private while you're on the line there, because it can come off as a bit unprofessional. But hey, I guess we're all in this together. So I mean, I guess we're all kind of experiencing the same little hiccups and stuff, and seeing a little slice of everybody's life outside of the professional context that we're used to here.
Very true.
Yeah. So kind of, a little bit of a leading into sort of what this is sort of looking like for messaging and how it's sort of affecting the life of a BDR SDR here. Sarah, I know you had some examples on how messaging as well, and how some of that's been changing a little bit due to all this. And I mean, of course it's changing, but it'd be great to hear a bit more about how you've sort of seen that perception change, other than Sandra, some other contacts.
And then that one terrible negative experience. So it's kind of tough to navigate messaging right now, because especially if you're kind of doing high send volume where you're not able to personalize every message. And even if you are able to personalize every message, you don't really know how somebody is going to respond to prospecting right now. You're going to have your people who are completely offended by the idea that they're being prospected during such a kind of tumultuous time. You're going to have your people who don't want to hear any more about COVID. So if you're referencing like, oh, we're in an unpredictable time, something in your messaging refers to what's going on, they're just exhausted by that and they don't want to hear that anymore. And then you're gonna be in touch with people that just don't care and they think that there's no issue right now. So it can be kind of tough to figure out the type of messaging that is going to resonate with all of those people. So we kind of chatted about it internally and did some work to figure out what we thought would be the best solution. And we decided that the most important thing is to take an empathetic approach. It's not the time to kind of heavily prospect someone and push for a call and push for a meeting. It is a time to acknowledge what's going on, acknowledge that they may have been hit really, really hard, and it really might not be the time at all to even consider bringing on new services or new products. And so to acknowledge that right off the bat and then say, if now isn't the right time, let me know. I will follow your lead. However you want to proceed here, I'm just going to try to keep doing my job the best that I can under the circumstances. And if it's not the right time for you, we'll chat again later. And that has been kind of, I think, the best messaging that we could have come up with as a team. I know that before we kind of came up with that type of messaging, there were some responses I was getting where people were like, look, I've been laid off and I don't want to talk to you. And that's obviously super unfortunate and very fair. A colleague of mine was getting responses that were like, how dare you prospect at a time like this? Is this what you're being taught to do at predictable revenue? That kind of thing. And now that we've kind of adjusted to this more empathetic messaging, people are saying, you know what, it's not a good time, but fantastic email. Thank you for your outreach. So I think that's the best piece of advice that we can give you in terms of how to craft your messaging right now is just empathy, number one, acknowledging the times, acknowledging it might not be the time to adopt any new services, but if you want to chat, we're here to chat.
Totally. And I mean, a big part of that is, not making assumptions and realizing that, as well as, although we're all kind of, experiencing this at the same time, there's a lot of varying degrees of intensity depending on where you are and how affected you are in one place or how personal it is to you. That perception is going to be wildly different, where depending on who you're talking to, and always just being aware and having sort of a bit of that, emotional intelligence and empathy there, and making sure at the end of the day as well, not trying to waste anyone's time, like being relevant as well. Now is the time, more than ever, to really kind of nail those relevance pieces and make sure you're providing something that can provide value to people. So I think, as BDRs, we can definitely work towards creating that messaging and creating content and reaching out to people in a way right now that's super relevant and something we can provide value as we're kind of going along here, and still at the same time be able to do our jobs, and hopefully do our jobs well here during these times here. So although there's a lot of challenges here, we're definitely working on some of that, and being, having that awareness and is super important. So very well put, Sarah. Switching gears here a little bit, kind of talking a bit more about sort of that virtual workforce and how that's going. We noticed internally, I mean, although it's a challenge as well, there's a lot of ways that, people have been trying to maintain good communication here, stay motivated, as well as a really big piece as well as maintaining company culture, which is so easy to lose in something where you're so separate like this. But being able to do that virtually is a hugely important part as well. And I mean, some of the good things that do come out of this virtual workforce idea and this whole transitionary period here, as we're sort of still experiencing a lot of things changing, is there's a lot of opportunities, I think, to be creative and agile in what it is that you're doing, and try to really innovate on everyday processes and make them either more efficient, or maybe, things that you're doing before maybe now just don't apply. So really trying to be creative, agile, and apply yourself to what you have. Similar to that as well, a great time to skill up if you've got the resources and opportunity. Awesome time to be able to keep providing that value, learn things that are going to be relevant, and learn things that are going to be able to things that you can better serve. And this can be done, kind of whenever you've got time, or making time, carving out time during the day to do something like that. Another thing with this, I've also found that we've been talking about here is that I definitely feel like this has changed the way that people value personal relationships. I definitely found myself talking to friends and family more so now than before, just because, I mean, I feel like it's quite easy to take those things for granted, but now that we're all sort of isolating here, definitely a time to really be grateful for the relationships that we do have. And yeah, it's funny having, those little parties with friends now, sitting in front of the Zoom camera, and literally it's just you in front of your desk with, like, you're just sitting here, but really you've got all your friends there as well. So it's definitely a time where people, I think, are valuing those connections and
Sure.
and valuing those personal ones, but also professional ones as well. We can value the people that we are in touch with or are connected with. Definitely a good time to do that as well.
Very true. And there are a lot of challenges, of course, that we're encountering, and everyone's encountering all over the world, who are being forced to work from home. You're all of a sudden trying to work and be as productive in a completely different workspace, completely different environment. If you're living in kind of a group situation, maybe everyone who lives with you is also being forced to work from home. If you have kids that were usually in school or in daycare, they're in your space as well. So definitely navigating those relationships, while we just mentioned it's fantastic, and it's been great to brush up on some of these relationships. There are a lot of relationships that maybe are a little bit more challenging with the current situation. And of course, we can feel pretty trapped when essentially we're quarantined and maybe you can only get outside 10 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. So we're going to speak to some of our ideas on how to mitigate those challenges.
For sure. And I mean, I guess one of the biggest things that we found talking with people and amongst our own group and amongst friends and coworkers and people is a really big thing is just being able to demarcate that time between work and between personal life and sort of maintain that regular schedule. Just having that feeling of regularity or something, almost as if it was, another work day, and kind of coming to do that, and always finding time to do the things that you want to do, both for work and for yourself personally as well. So yeah, Sarah, I know you had some sort of stuff about that as well.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the biggest things I think that initially was a challenge for me, but now that I've sort of figured it out, has boosted my productivity and my just mental health immensely, is keeping a work routine. And that is in part due to this meeting that we've been having every morning at 9 a.m. with our revenue team. Our manager, Julian, just decided to create this morning meeting. It's called Rev team wild and out, and it's just to check in. Obviously, if we were coming into the office together every morning, we'd be saying our hellos, chatting about what we did the day before, making the coffee, you know, settling in for the day. And we don't have that. You're maybe only walking 4 feet from your bed to your desk. So it's pretty tough to kind of feel like you're in work mode. And this is a nice, really soft transition into work mode. We do things like we do MTV Cribs, Revenue Edition. So each day somebody walks around with their laptop and shows their face to everyone else on the team. And that's pretty cool. They'll be like, and here, my Honda Civic, the whip. Julian showed us the entire contents of his refrigerator.
It was awesome. It was the best. Yeah.
Several mustards, several different types of mustard. Anyway, so things like that. Another thing we did was watch marble races, and everybody picked a marble. Mine won. Fine.
Whatever.
So just fun things. Fun things to stay in touch with your workmates, but also kind of, it was 9 a.m. so it like got us started. And then I'm kind of ready for work, and I'm already in front of my laptop, and I feel a lot better. So yeah, that's a big one for keeping a work routine.
Yeah. And for company culture too, totally. Like, I mean, one of the big things is, I'm sure Sarah can say the same, but we really like the people that we work with here. I think everybody on our team and everybody at PR is awesome. So definitely nice to be able to catch up with people in the mornings and still have a bit of that cultural, you know, fit there. Keep going that way.
Very true.
Another side to that as well, apart from that work routine, is definitely having a personal routine as well, to make sure that you're, you know, taking care of yourself and making sure that you've got time to do all the things that you want to do as well here. So just having that schedule where you can fit in times and carve out slots that are regular for, say, learning something new or reading or doing maybe things that you didn't have time for before. But, you know, if you set it down on a piece of paper or in a calendar or something like that, it just makes it so much easier to do and gives you, you know, a chance to do all those maybe little personal things and at little pockets of the day that might, you know, brighten your day a little bit and change how you were doing things before.
Very true. And one of the things, Seb, that you mentioned earlier is that a great way to kind of have a work routine and a personal routine is to take off your sweatpants and put on real pants for the work day, and then swap right back into those sweats to really to mark a really clear line between the work day and your day after that.
Sweatpants are fun pants. Right now I swear I'm not wearing sweatpants, but yeah, you gotta definitely separate one from the other there.
One of the other big things that we've been chatting about is trying to stay physically healthy during a time when we're all confined to less space than normal. Maybe you're not doing your bike ride to work every morning. You're not able to do your afternoon walk or anything like that. So we're trying to do, again, as a company, we've got some things in place. Everyone's trying to kind of rally together for this part as well. Some of us are doing a plank challenge where we try to increase the length of time that we can plank over the course of the next couple of weeks. So that's pretty fun. And yeah, I think we all try to get out for walks as much as we can. For those of you that cannot get outside, trying to do a bit of a lunchtime workout. I know that there has been a massive increase in like Facebook Live workouts and, you know, gyms that usually do all their stuff in person, giving away workout classes for free, or you being able to subscribe right now for free trials and all that kind of stuff. So while that might be a really, really big change if you're used to being able to do everything in person, there are suddenly a lot of resources on how to do that. I swear it's not COVID, but my voice is going away. There are suddenly, a lot of different resources to help you stay active in your home.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I mean, I guess ultimately all these things kind of put together here, it's so important to watch out for your mental health as well here during this, especially when news headlines are so devastating and everybody seems confined and everything. Definitely, you know, helpful to, you know, as you're saying, still trying to stay active here, still trying to maintain a routine as much as possible and everything. I think it kind of helps give that feeling of regularity as well and help, feel a little bit more normal, feel a little bit more sane during all of it. Also, you know, definitely a good time to be a bit more hygienic overall. Washing, you know, handles, doorknobs, everything around the house, things that normally maybe you wouldn't do, but, you know, just really making sure that we're all doing our part and everybody's sort of controlling their controllables here and trying to do everything we can here to flatten the curve, right?
Should flatten the curve.
Is that what they do for it? Okay.
Hashtag.
I've never seen it. Hashtag flatten the curve. Yes.
Hashtag flatten the curve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously there are a lot of challenges that we're all facing right now, trying to adjust the way that we work, trying to adjust the way that we live in the current climate, the current situation. But there are a lot of reasons why things don't suck right now. We've mentioned a few of the ways that you can kind of turn these challenges into positives, but Seb, I think you had some really great insight on how to maybe just view this this time overall as a positive.
Yeah. And I mean, positive, it's kind of tricky. I wouldn't necessarily say positive overall. Well, maybe, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of complicated here, of course, but definitely it's I think there is kind of a light at the end of the tunnel here for sure. I mean, a lot of the conversations that we're having here, people are I think saying things like, oh, when things get back to normal, let's talk, or back when the dust settles. Mm-hmm. But really, I mean, I find it very hard to imagine that we're just going to come out of this and things are going to go back to the way they were before. It's going to either take a long, long time, or people are always going to view, how people do things totally different after this. It's definitely changing the way that people act with one another, as well as do business, as well as, everything's really changing here, the whole way that people interact. So one of the things that I did hear from somebody that I found really poignant, and something that I think was kind of, I reflected on a good bit, and I think it was worthwhile, was he basically said, paraphrasing here, that there's two sort of potential outcomes that can come out of this whole event. One being, the worst case scenario that everyone's, kind of in the back of their mind dreading, that the economy fails and, things just keep getting worse and worse and worse. And I mean, of course, that's just adds anxiety and adds stress and everything like that. And it's just not a positive thing to think about. The other possibility is that we come out of this as a better, more together civilization, that people see each other in a more compassionate, empathetic way, and really kind of work for the betterment of everybody overall coming out of this. And maybe kind of feel good to think about that way, but really everybody's got a part to play in that. Everybody can just do their best to be a bit more empathetic, a little bit more understanding of other people's, of the problems people are facing, and just really trying to put yourself in other people's shoes here. So I definitely think that's sort of a nice kind of feel good way to look at this. And yeah, we can all help. Everyone's got a part to play to make the world a little bit better coming out of this.
Yeah, very true. And this is actually kind of good timing to wrap up. There's a kid that lives upstairs, started to play with bricks, apparently. He was wearing brick shoes, stomping up there.
I feel like any upstairs neighbors wear brick shoes.
So true.
I don't know what it is. I'm an upstairs neighbor in my house, so I feel bad.
Upstairs neighbor. You're gifted those when you move into an apartment above anybody else.
We get very heavy shoes. Yeah, that's true.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. We chatted a bit about how SDRs and BDRs adjust to working from home, how we stay motivated in a completely different work environment, how we adjust our prospecting and our outreach approach to be more empathetic. And we've shared some kind of personal tips and tricks on how we stay sane, how we maintain company culture, and how we kind of hope to view things going forward. You can find us both on LinkedIn. Feel free to shoot us a message if you're an SDR or BDR, you've got any questions, or just shoot us a connection request. We're happy to connect with everybody. Sign up for our Outbound Labs ebook. We'll put a link with this podcast. Our Outbound Labs team takes a scientific approach to proving and disproving the latest outbound tools and strategies. So we're definitely going to be doing a lot of experimentation around what's going on right now. And we'd be really glad to share the results with you guys so that you can implement them as well. And also just keep an eye out for the next podcast in this series. In the next couple of episodes, we're going to be, a few other members of the Predictable Revenue team are going to be sharing their experience, shedding some light on how they're adjusting their approach, and some tips and tricks from their experiences working from home as well. So that'll be really valuable for other members of your team, whether that's sales or kind of any other department. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys.
Thank you.
Make sure you sign up for all our stuff, and see you next time.
And scene.
Scene.